What do you make of the concerns that are brought up by, you know, not only just those from within the opposition, but even the general public who have been able to describe the European government as one that is not a listening government. In fact, some government officials are on record for saying that they have heard the advice or the feedback that has come, especially from the Patriotic Front, but they will not take, that advice. What do you make of these sentiments? And when you talk about this pastoral statement that was issued by ZCCB, they have brought forward what they feel needs to be done. Some of the reforms need to be made. Do you think that the government would adhere to some of these concerns and some of the reforms that have been highlighted?
It's any government's responsibility to ensure that they listen to everyone. That's how you govern a people. Citizens vote you into office. Your obligation continues. It doesn't only end at them electing you, but it goes all the way to ensuring that you're constantly listening to their submissions, to their grievances, because you are governing on their behalf. You are doing it in their interest. So I do not believe that those who say UPND does not listen are really saying it in good faith. I think that a government system has procedures within which they undertake reforms, under which they make changes to ensure that they do what the Zambian people are asking them to do. Some of them are based on law and what the law says, and you have to change certain laws in order to implement some things. And some of the things are policy positions that can be made by cabinet. Some of them are changes that are going to take time because some of the people responsible for ensuring that that change comes are very slow to change. And so sometimes it appears as though a government is not responding. But there are all these bureaucratic processes that need to be taken just to make one change or one shift. So for us, if somebody means well, they are going to be positive in the manner in which they contradict or condemn government. But here is one thing I want to say. I think in terms of democracy, democratic space, I think there is going to be a challenge moving forward because this is one season in which this government, now us as an alliance, working together. One of the biggest challenges before us is the fight against corruption. And that is one of the reasons why MMD decided to hold hands with the UPND, because we think that the fight against corruption must be won. And it must be won and fought viciously. And what you're going to see is that because now most of the cases that have been in court are maturing, going towards judgment, you're going to see a lot of them being either convicted or acquitted. So it's going to appear like many people are being so-called persecuted. But we cannot abandon the law in the name of being afraid that if people are taken to court to answer, where did your daughter get this farm from? Where did she get the money from? Where did this person, your son, get this money from to have so many vehicles? If the government is asking those questions, we need to give them time to do that. Only a non-Zambian will start to say we are being persecuted. The law exists in order to ensure that justice prevails in the country and prosperity is shared amongst all Zambians, not just the elite few.
I would like to talk about the MOU that was signed between the MMD as well as the UPND. One of the things that you were able to highlight when we featured you on one of our shows called This Day is that all members of your party were agreeable to being able to sign this MOU. But we did get to hear from one section of the MMD party, and that is from the Copper Belt, saying that they were not consulted before this decision was made. How are you addressing this concern that comes up in that you said that everybody was in line with the signing of this MOU from the MMD, but we have another side of things where one part of the MMD from the Copper Belt is saying that they were not consulted at all?
Well, first of all, let me say that the coming together of MMD and UPND has rattled a lot of people. It has angered a lot of people because they know the implication. They know that this alliance is really the alliance that is going to provide leadership, that is going to provide direction for this country. They know that. And also to remind you that MMD has had these disoriented people, most of whom were sponsored by the PF. And you must understand that as PF disintegrates on the political scene, even the influence of this group that has for 10 years tried to destabilize our party continues to also weaken, because they don't have funders anymore, because PF has their own problems to deal with. But here is the beauty about MMD. MMD, obviously, and the president of MMD is almost like the American democracy, where the president is not that powerful. Nevas Mumba in MMD is not as powerful as people claim that I am. Nothing passes in MMD without a resolution of the National Executive Committee. If I make a decision alone, it will be shot down and I can be removed from the leadership of the party. The decision to work with Upnd was a decision that was arrived at by the National Executive Committee of 65 people. Yes, there could have been 10 or 11 that disagreed, and maybe those people you're referring to belong to that group. But the majority carries the day. And not only did we vote once on this issue over the past 3 years, we have voted on this motion 3 times just to ensure that everyone is on board. So if the National Executive Committee decided that we're going to work with our colleagues in the UPND also took it to the National Management Committee to make sure they get the consensus and the endorsement of the National Management Committee. So both the National Executive Committee of MMD and the National Management Committee of the UPND have endorsed this alliance. And obviously, there will be a few people that will continue to speak when they lose an election and they lost this vote on this issue. They are continuing to say what they want to say because they wanted to move MMD to another alliance, to the PF alliance. And when those who agreed to work with UPND won the vote in the National Executive Committee, obviously those colleagues are disillusioned now, they are disoriented, but they are not a factor anymore in terms of democracy. They are the minority, and they are the same group that has been working with those people who have been fighting the progress of the movement for multi-party democracy.